In every age, humanity forgets its soul. We chase the external, progress, pleasure, perfection. Yet deep inside, something remains restless. A quiet ache that no success can silence. But sometimes a voice rises from within, a whisper that asks, "Who are you really?" That's where the journey begins, the call of the soul. At the dawn of the 20th century, the world worshipped reason. Science had become the new religion. The human mind was seen as a machine, something to be dissected, explained, and controlled. And yet, in this age of intellect, one man dared to listen to the irrational, to dreams, to myths, to madness itself. His name was Carl Gustav Jung. Born in Switzerland in 1875, Jung grew up surrounded by religion, his father a pastor. Yet he felt a strange distance from God, as if the divine had gone silent. He was haunted by dreams of ancient cathedrals, underground chambers, and cosmic figures, images no theology could explain. Even as a boy, Jung sensed that the psyche was not bound by time or logic. It was a living mystery, half human, half divine. When Jung met Sigmund Freud, he found both a mentor and a mirror. Freud believed the unconscious was a pit of repressed desire. Jung saw it differently, not a prison, but a vast realm of symbols and potential. Their friendship was fiery, letters, debates, admiration, until the shadow between them grew too strong. In 1913, Jung broke away and descended into his own darkness. That break shattered his outer world, but opened an inner one. He began to record the visions and voices that emerged from his unconscious. He met figures of myth and symbols of the soul, the wise old man, the shadow, the divine child. He realized that the psyche was not a chaos to be cured, but a universe waiting to be understood. The unconscious was not the enemy of reason, it was the forgotten half of the self. In facing his inner chaos, Jung discovered what every soul must face: the truth that salvation does not come from escaping darkness, but from entering it with awareness. The journey of the soul begins the moment we stop running from ourselves. And this was only the beginning. After his break with Freud, Jung entered the darkest period of his life. He was no longer guided by science nor by the church. He stood at the edge of an unknown inner world and decided to walk into it. He began to dream of oceans of blood, of gods and serpents rising from the depths. He feared he was losing his mind, but instead of running, he surrendered to the visions. For years, Jung recorded everything he saw, in secret, in what would later become known as the Red Book. He called it his confrontation with the unconscious. At night, he would sit alone, close his eyes and wait. Images would come, voices would speak. He met strange beings, a wise old man named Philemon, a dark serpent, a radiant child glowing with light. Each one was not a hallucination, but a symbol, an aspect of his own soul trying to speak through the language of imagination. Jung discovered that the unconscious was not chaos. It had structure. It spoke in images, myths, and archetypes. These archetypes, the hero, the shadow, the mother, the trickster, were not just stories. They were living patterns inside every human being. The shadow represented the parts of ourselves we deny or hide. The anima and animus were the inner feminine and masculine within every soul. And at the center of it all was the self, the totality of who we are, both conscious and unconscious. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." He realized that most people are not living their own lives. They are being lived by their unconscious. Every repeated heartbreak, every fear, every strange attraction, it is the unconscious trying to communicate. But because we fear it, we project it outward, onto lovers, enemies, even gods. When Jung faced his own shadow, he experienced terror. But through that darkness, he began to see meaning. The shadow was not evil. It was the unlived life, the truth we refuse to face. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, Jung said, but by making the darkness conscious. To face your shadow is to step beyond comfort. It is to meet the part of you that you've buried, your anger, your pain, your unspoken desires, and to say, I see you. As Jung went deeper, he realized that the unconscious was not only personal, it was collective. Beneath every individual mind was a vast shared psyche, a spiritual inheritance of all humanity. That is why myths repeat across cultures, why the same gods, heroes, and dreams appear in ancient Egypt, Greece, India, and the modern world. They are reflections of this collective unconscious, the shared memory of the human soul. Through this descent, journey, individuation, it is the word Jung gave to the deepest human process, the path toward becoming whole. It begins when the old self begins to crumble, when success no longer satisfies, when relationships repeat the same pain, when the soul whispers that something deeper is missing. That whisper is the beginning of transformation. Most people live divided lives, a public self and a hidden self, a mask we show the world and the truth we keep buried. Jung called the mask the persona, the social face we wear to survive. We need it. It helps us function. But the danger is forgetting that it's not who we really are. Behind every perfect smile, every polite answer, every role we play, there lives another truth, the shadow, the unlived self. To individuate is to allow both to exist, not to destroy the mask, but to make it transparent, so the soul can shine through. It is the art of reconciling opposites, light and dark, masculine and feminine, reason and mystery, God and the animal within. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." The path of individuation is not about self-improvement. It is about self-discovery, a journey through darkness, guided by meaning. When we repress pain, it sinks into the unconscious and grows stronger. But when we face it with awareness, it transforms. Every wound, once accepted, becomes a gateway to the soul. The unconscious does not speak in logic, it speaks in symbols. That is why dreams matter. In dreams, the hidden self reveals what the waking mind refuses to see. A lost house, a wild animal, a forgotten child. Each image is a message. Jung believed that dreams are not random. They are the language of the self. To study your dreams is to begin a dialogue with your own soul. As Jung explored his inner world, he realized that true healing comes when opposites unite. The conscious mind and the unconscious are like two halves of one whole. They are meant to meet, to balance, to dance. This inner union is symbolized by the mandala, a circle containing all opposites. It represents the self, the center of the psyche, the divine image within every human being. To reach this center, the ego must surrender control. The ego wants safety. The soul wants truth. Jung taught that the ego is not the enemy, but it cannot be the master. When the ego serves the self, life becomes meaningful. When the ego resists, life becomes suffering. In our time, we have forgotten this sacred balance. We worship the mind and silence the soul. We build technology but neglect imagination. We chase progress, yet we feel more empty than ever. Jung saw this coming. He said the greatest danger of the modern world is the loss of connection to the inner life. To reconnect, we must descend again. Not into darkness this time, but into depth. Depth means honesty. It means sitting with your pain without running. It means asking, what is life trying to teach me through this? Teach me through this. When we begin to listen, synchronicities appear, meaningful coincidences that feel like signs from the universe. These are not accidents. They are reflections of the self guiding you home. Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. To become whole is not to become perfect. It is to accept your imperfections as sacred, to realize that the divine and the flawed live side by side within you. The journey of individuation never truly ends. It is a spiral, not a straight line, a continual unfolding of awareness and humility. When the soul awakens, the world begins to change. Not outside, but within. You start to see that every person is a mirror. Every conflict is a reflection. Every heartbreak is an invitation to grow closer to your truth. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what part of me is life trying to reveal? That shift is the moment the unconscious becomes conscious. It is the birth of wisdom. Individuation is not an escape from the world. It is a return to life with awareness, to live not as an ego chasing control, but as a soul expressing truth. When you live from that place, you no longer seek happiness. You create meaning. You no longer fear the darkness. You walk through it with light. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. This is the heart of Jung's message. To awaken is to remember that everything you seek already lives within you. The love, the peace, the divine. You are not just a mind. You are a mystery, a spark of consciousness exploring itself through the dance of light and shadow. And that is how the soul is found. After the long descent and the years of solitude, Jung emerged, not as a prophet, not as a saint, but as a man who had seen the soul and returned alive. He did not preach perfection, he taught wholeness. He said that soul task is not to escape humanity, but to embrace it completely.
This is the message of Carl Jung, that to look within is not to escape reality, it is to meet reality as it truly is. That to know your shadow is to reclaim your light, and that to find your soul is to remember that you were never separate from it. You were simply asleep. Now, it's time to awaken. After a lifetime of exploring the mind, after facing the darkness and walking through fire, Carl Jung reached a quiet truth, that the purpose of life is not to escape pain, but to find meaning through it. He realized that the soul does not want perfection. It wants wholeness. Wholeness means to hold every part of yourself, the light that shines and the shadow that trembles, and to love them both. The modern world tells us to move faster, to achieve more, to numb the pain. But the soul speaks in silence. It whispers only when the noise fades. In your darkest moments, when everything falls apart, that's not the end. That's your initiation. Because every breakdown carries a hidden invitation to wake up, to shed the masks, to remember who you truly are. You are not the pain you survived. You are not your past, your mistakes, or your wounds. You are the consciousness that watched it all unfold and still chose to love. Jung discovered that the soul is not a concept. It is a living presence, the part of you that knows peace even when your mind is at war. When you begin to live from that place, you stop trying to be perfect. You start becoming real. To find your soul is not to go somewhere new. It is to return to the innocence before the world taught you fear, to the stillness before the noise, to the love that existed before the wound. This is awakening, not a sudden light, but a quiet remembering. The soul awakens when you finally forgive yourself, when you stop chasing and start listening, when you realize that every loss was never punishment, but preparation. Jung's greatest discovery was not about psychology, it was about love. He said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. When one soul awakens, it awakens another. And slowly, the light spreads. That is how the world is healed. Not by force, but by awareness. Not by systems, but by souls. The journey of the soul never truly ends. It deepens, expands, and continues beyond this life. Because consciousness itself cannot die, it only changes form, like fire passing from one candle to the next. When Jung passed away in 1961, he left behind no empire, only wisdom, the map of the human spirit. He gave humanity a new mirror, one that reflected both God and the human heart. Close your eyes, breathe. The same light that guided Jung lives within you now. The same darkness he faced waits for your courage, and the same soul he sought beats quietly inside your chest. You don't have to find the light. You are the light that forgot itself. You don't have to chase your destiny. You only have to remember it. When the storm inside you settles, you will hear the quiet voice say, "You made it. You're home." Home is not the end of the journey. It's the moment you realize the journey itself was sacred. So let your past rest. Let your fears dissolve. Let your soul breathe again. Because in the end, you are not a body with a soul. You are a soul having a human experience. And no matter how far you wander, you are never truly lost. You are always on your way back to yourself. The light you seek has always lived inside your darkness. And when you embrace both, you finally become whole. In every age, humanity forgets its soul. We chase the external, progress, pleasure, perfection, yet deep inside, something remains restless, a quiet ache that no success can silence. But sometimes a voice rises from within, a whisper that asks, "Who are you really?" That's where the journey begins, the call of the soul. At the dawn of the 20th century, the world worshipped reason. Science had become the new religion. The human mind was seen as a machine, something to be dissected, explained, and controlled. And yet, in this age of intellect, one man dared to listen to the irrational, to dreams, to myths, to madness itself. His name was Carl Gustav Jung. Born in Switzerland in 1875, Jung grew up surrounded by religion, his father a pastor. Yet he felt a strange distance from God, as if the divine had gone silent. He was haunted by dreams of ancient cathedrals, underground chambers, and cosmic figures, images no theology could explain. Even as a boy, Jung sensed that the psyche was not bound by time or logic. It was a living mystery, half human, half divine. When Jung met Sigmund Freud, he found both a mentor and a mirror. Freud believed the unconscious was a pit of repressed desire. Jung saw it differently, not a prison, but a vast realm of symbols and potential. Their friendship was
fiery. Letters, debates, admiration, until the shadow between them grew too strong. In 1913, Jung broke away and descended into his own darkness. That break shattered his outer world, but opened an inner one. He began to record the visions and voices that emerged from his unconscious. He met figures of myth and symbols of the soul, the wise old man, the shadow, the divine child. He realized that the psyche was not a chaos to be cured, but a universe waiting to be understood. The unconscious was not the enemy of reason. It was the forgotten half of the self. In facing his inner chaos, Jung discovered what every soul must face. The truth that salvation does not come from escaping darkness, but from entering it with awareness. The journey of the soul begins the moment we stop running from ourselves. And this was only the beginning.